Hey, hope all is well with you. This is the second part to me creating this garment. The first video gave you kind of an overview of my plans. This you will see me actually drafting the pattern. So this is my back wrap top. So of course I already had the top originally, and that's the piece that you're seeing on the table. I had the design, created it, but there were some things that I wanted to change about it. It wasn't completely the way I wanted. So realizing that I didn't want to waste fabric, I wanted to figure out a way that I could utilize the fabric or the garment that I had already made as a pre-draft, because the very first one I made without a pattern, and I kind of did it on the fly. I had something in my head, which happens often, and I kind of wanted to work with it. So I got to now draft the pattern because I know that this is something that, that I want to remake, at least for myself. This one was for a client, so I am just using some printer paper and putting it together to draft my pattern. Now, by using the piece that I had already drafted as my somewhat template, it just keeps a lot of I don't have to work as hard to draft the pattern. It takes me a minute to kind of figure out what I want to adjust and switch, but I'll figure it out. These are magnets because the table is actually metal underneath the board. So the cool thing about it is having the magnets to keep stuff from shifting. And I freehanded. I knew I wanted to make it a little bit bigger, but I needed it definitely to be longer. The piece wouldn't go all the way across the back of the body like I wanted it to. So I knew that I had to make it much longer. Not necessarily higher in the back, but definitely much longer. I do add in about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch at the shoulders. I do, of course, add a triangle piece to the end to make it longer. What else did I do? I made the side piece and I adjusted the shoulder seam. Or not the shoulder seam, but the side seam where the armhole was. Okay, moving forward, I had to clean, of course, the area off because now I am ready to cut my pieces for this back wrap top. The fabric is a knit, polyester knit. Has a really good stretch both horizontally as well as vertically. The vertical stretch is not as much, but it still has a decent stretch. Excuse me. I tried to match the salvage edge, but it was fighting me. I'm not even gonna lie, it was fighting me. But it worked out. Of course, it took me a minute to figure out how I really wanted to cut it because I was only going to be cutting the back piece. Because the front piece from the original garment I am using in this garment, so I don't waste as much. Because I already know that when I remake this, I'm probably not going to use the exact same print. I may use in fact, for myself, I will be doing a totally different print. But laid it out, making sure I had enough clearance all the way around it. Sorry that the position of the camera wasn't the best. I didn't realize that until just now. But I want to butt it up as close to the salvage edge or the cut edge so that I don't waste as much fabric. Using a rotary cutter, does save you time, but sometimes even with this fabric, it does shift during the process. Annoying, but it still works. If you notice during the process of me using my rotary cutter, I had to go back several times and kind of cut off, cut various spots because my rotary cutter did not cut straight through. Usually when that happens, that means I need to replace my blade. I didn't do that. Probably should have, but they invented scissors. So I just pull my scissors out to cut it, and it's fine. But anytime you have that issue where it doesn't cut well, it usually means that your blades have gotten really dull, and it makes it harder for you to cut. So my back piece is actually cut all out. Now, the other pieces I need to cut, which would be the binding piece that I'm going to put towards off that angled piece. Plus, I need a piece for my waistband. And it's probably a couple other things I needed to do. But you will find out that I actually ended up changing my mind during the process of putting this together. So keep watching. Don't forget, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to my channel. Now, I will admit when I am working, sometimes I figure out things I want to do as I'm looking at what kind of fabrics or how the fabric's laid out. And right now I figured out a way that I could utilize this little odd shape, this half moon over here on this other side, how I could utilize it without having a whole lot of waste left over. So I am going to make the back portion of the peplum to this back wrap top using this particular area. I do reshape it a couple times to get the look that I kind of want, but probably each one that I do, it's going to be a variation of this, but not necessarily set to it, because when you don't create an actual pattern, it kind of gives you a way to kind of, what I want to say, use your imagination and maybe work with in the realm or the, what's the word, parameters of the type of fabric or how much fabric you have left. So I'm reshaping it a little bit, making sure both pieces are the same shape as well as the same size. The straight portion that you see at the very end, furthest away from the camera, is the part that's going to be matched up to the side seam. So I'm going to actually do a little bit of a half moon. Well, not a half moon. I'm going to take off some of the excess because this is the top part where I'm actually cutting it. I want to remove any of the salvage because you don't want the salvage left on your project, especially when it's a knit, because it can actually distort the design, and you don't want that. Now I am trying to figure out a piece that I can cut to make the front of the peplum of the shirt. Then I'm gonna actually, probably after that, I think after that it was something else. That's the back pieces. I need to use this remnant part this is probably what I'm going to use to make the front peplum. I'm just trying to size it up because I don't need it to be as full as I need the back. One of the reasons why is because I actually wanted to reduce the fullness in this top. Even though it's a wrap top, it could be too full if I didn't take my time. Or maybe I didn't use it for that. No, yeah, I did. I want it to be less full. And to help with that is to not add additional weight, meaning a lot of gathers in the very front of the top. That's the only way you can do that. So that's what I kind of shaped it to. So that's the front. Then I'm going to cut, what else I got to cut? The waistband and the binding to the back of the top. Now I have moved on to the very top portion of the bodice. I'm reshaping the armholes because I knew it was way too high up. The distance from the shoulder to the bottom of the armhole was just too close, which didn't give room or comfort when it was worn. So that's one of the things that I had to adjust. Not too much, because I still wanted it wide enough to be able to drape the way I wanted to once you put it on. But other than that, that was pretty much what I had to do with that. Now it was time to figure out what kind of sleeve I wanted to create. Of course, this is a packet full of different style sleeves that I have made over the years. Some styles work perfectly for different designs, and because I can kind of interchange most of my patterns, my designs, to almost any top, I just put all my sleeves in one kit and caboodle. But it takes me, I don't know, maybe 15-20 minutes to kind of figure out. And in essence, none of these pieces or pattern pieces that I had here, I used to make the sleeve. I totally went, I think, a different direction. And it's because of the look I wanted to go for. Or I just couldn't find a pattern that I wanted. But I ended up finding something that would work, but not necessarily what I wanted. All right, so I've already started sewing the top. Like I said, I'm not going to show everything because it's just going to be too time consuming. Trying to figure out what stuff is. I'm losing it. Okay, so this is the front panel of the top. The original color was the original color or thread was the neon yellow. I decided to go ahead and do white because it's in my machine. Ain't no sense in changing nothing. So I had to change that. So this is basically ready for me to attach it to the back pieces. And that's what I was getting ready to show you. So I want to bind my crisscross pieces in the back. So to bind them, I actually have to do wrong side to right side. So this is the binding that I'm using, which is the fabric. I did stretch it a little bit as I went down the edging so that basically it'll kind of pull in a little bit. It's a way of creating your own elastic. That's the easiest way I can kind of say it. The fabric becomes an elastic. It kind of gives that cinch feel without being so cinchy. Is that a word? I don't know. Anyway, so all I'm going to do is take the fabric, because this width of this is only 1.25 inches. Yeah, 1.25 inches. I'm going to take and pull it this way and then wrap it around to cover the edging. It'll take a little coaxing to do that. But once I actually do that, like I'll take it and then I'll turn it one more time. So it'll be a double fold. So I'll pull it. You got this. and you turn it and you fold it in, covering the fabric or covering the stitches, and you fold it one more time. And in doing so, it's completely covering the edging. I will have to change my needle in my machine. I need the smallest. I'm using a twin needle 1 to help with stretch. 2, also I'm using a twin needle because it looks better. It's a better finish and it stretches. So as this stretches, when the fabric stretches, the actual twin needles will stretch. I guess that's the easiest way to say it. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm tired. Okay. So I had to change my, I will have to change my the needle in here because I have a 4.0 and I need a 2.0. And that's just the distance between the two needles. So there's a 4.0 much wider, 2.0. They used to have like a 6.0. Be careful with using a twin needle. Make sure you check your book to make sure it allows it, because not all machines do. I can't do it on my single needle over here. It's called a single needle. So anyway, so I got to do these. So this point will be done, and I'm doing this before I attach it to the front, because I won't be able to get to this area of the shirt once I actually attach it to the back. I won't be able to do it because this part will be encased in the shoulder portion of the top. But I just got to take my time, and I will probably clip it or pin it in order to sit up there and make sure it doesn't flip out. Now, if you're not comfortable, you can actually increase the width of your binding piece that you're going to use. If you're not comfortable with this, it doesn't give you much room for error with this, the way I'm doing it. So if you're not comfortable and you're new, do it at 1 and 7, 1 and 3/4 or 2 inches. Either one of those will be good. You don't want to go too much further than that unless you wanted to change the way it looks or fits, or maybe you do it because you want a little bit more width. There's another way you can do the same kind of similar technique, which is called a, hope I can remember it. I'm not going to remember the exact name. You can take a piece of fabric that is 2 inches wide or 1 3/4 and fold it in half, lay it right side to the top, and actually serge it, and then come back and do a top stitch or cross stitch. It'll add an extra inch width right here, and that means instead of you having to deal with doing the way I'm doing it, you end up with a width like this. I hope it makes sense. I'll have to do a technique. Maybe if y'all would like, I can actually do some different finishing techniques you can do on shirts. It can be applied in different places, but the technique is pretty much the same. And once you kind of get in the groove of it, you'll start to understand the places you can make adjustments. Now, when you do certain techniques, that puts it in a realm of ready to wear or couture. Well, if you're using the machine too much, it's not couture. So if somebody tell you, oh, I made a couture dress, ask them how much hand sewing they did. Couture, there is maybe we'll do a talk one day about it, and I'll give you some more explanation. But anyway, I'm off my sock box. Sock box. Sock box. Oh, I mean, I'm tired. Okay. So I'm going to go on and work on this. And hopefully you'll see a finished product very soon. I got the peplum started. I just got to do, the other thing I do have to cut is I have to cut a band. Oh, you know what? I think I'm going to use that other fabric. I have to cut a band for the top. And when I cut the band for the top, it will, I'm going to say it in a minute, y'all. I don't remember what I was going to say. I got, I was planning to make the band for the top, which is the waistband, for the top out of the fabric. And because I really don't want to cut more off the end of the material, because I have to straighten the edge and do order to do that, which is more likely that I will basically have odd pieces that are considered kind of wasteful, or I have to put them somewhere so I remember I have them. And yeah, so sitting here just hit me real quick. I'm gonna probably use this blue as the band for. I wonder if I need to change this now. I wonder. I'm starting to feel that kind of idea. You know what, y'all? Y'all may not see this on the end. I may use the other one, which is the fabric. I may add 1 inch, maybe cut it at 2 inches wide. Add the blue band on the back of the cross pieces of the top, and then also you'll see it at the waistband to give some breakup. And I think I like that. I like that idea. So I'm getting ready to remove this, and then I will attach a blue one. This is what happens when you start to think certain things through and you visually can see it. And the breakup is going to actually work better than having it all be the same fabric. I like the idea of all fabric, but this would be an accent color added. So I'm going to do that, and then the top won't take much longer, I think. But I'll use it in a couple. I'll use it in about 3 different places, and I think that'll be nice. So stay tuned. Well, in my squirrel moment, this is what happens. So I have decided that I am no longer going to use the same exact fabric to bind the back of this back wrap top. I decided I am going to use a totally different fabric that will contrast and pop the shape a little bit better. So I'm actually removing all the serging stitches, which is annoying, but it is what it is. It's a little time consuming, so I am actually grabbing the straight stitches and just kind of pulling them. It's going to take me a minute to do. It probably took me a half an hour, maybe about 45 minutes in total to do this part, but I am happy that I had that squirrel moment and changed my mind on how I decided to put this together. Those pieces won't go to waste. I'll probably put them somewhere. I'll use them, maybe. All right, so now this is the fabric that I decided to use as the accent color. I am making sure that I have it laid the correct direction because this fabric only stretches horizontally and not vertically, which affects how I cut it out. Like I said, don't talk about the blade. I know that I probably should change it, but it didn't. It still worked. So whenever you work with fabrics, it's best to square it up before, especially when you're using strips, square it up before you get started. I'm deciding that I'm going to do about an inch going down the back, which means it had to be 2.5 inches wide, so that when I folded it, it was still that inch I wanted, and then it allowed for sewing. So I had to cut 2 of those pieces, and then I needed to cut, I think, 3 pieces that were about 3 inches wide, 3.5 inches wide for the waistband. I don't know what happened here. I just, oh, too hilarious. My rotary cutter, for some reason, just totally came apart. Anyway, so I finished cutting those. So I got started working on my sleeves. This was fairly easy. I will give you a tip that maybe some people don't think about. If you need to attach a cuff or a band on your sleeve, I would suggest that you do all the work to the sleeve before you attach it to the body of your shirt, only because sometimes, depending on how your room or your table is set up, the pulling that can happen from maybe the body of your shirt falling off of the table or something like that causes things to distort a little bit, and you may end up with some problems, or it may take you longer. So to avoid that, do any additional work to your sleeve before you attach it to the body of your shirt. Just a tip. But anyway, so this was fairly easy. I used binding that was probably about 2 inches wide to reduce the fullness, or what is the word? Oh my God. I don't know the word. To help gather the sleeve, but not make it tight, but to gather the sleeve. It worked out. I liked the way it looked. It wasn't too tight. It was more of a kind of flowy kind of sleeve at the hem line, and it worked perfectly for with the finished garment. I just took and stretched the binding as I sewed it with my serger. Here I am finishing the binding on the sleeve on my serger. I just stretched the binding to create basically an elastic effect without actually having elastic. So that's finished, and you can see the progress. Now I am creating pocket for the pants. There is a panel cut out of the front of the pants. As you can see, there was a triangle cut out. And then I am using a piece of fabric that's roughly about 11, maybe 12 inches long by 6 to 8 inches wide. And I'm going to create a pocket using this particular technique. I will end up actually doing a top stitch around the edge of that panel that I created. which will create a pocket that does not flap around, does not move around, and you have less issues. I did back that fabric with a treacle knit, um, so that it has some more stability towards the back of that square panel that I inserted. You will see me marking it. Once I do that, I use twin needles to attach it, and that helps with the stretch, or the stretch you will have by putting these pants on and taking them off. Less likely to have a breakage during that process. So that's pretty much what I did to create the pants, or at least the pockets for the pants. I think it worked out perfectly because it reduced the bulkiness that you sometimes have when it comes to pants. And that's, of course, what I like, to reduce bulkiness. Here is the finished product. I hope you like the design. I like the blue accents that I added, the drape neck, and then you can see the accent of the fabric towards the back. I want to thank you for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Have a great one.